And we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
Good. How are you, my friend?
Doing all right. Feeling
All right.
okay.
Good.
Touch bit sore, but feeling okay.
Fair enough. I understand that.
It's a thing that happens when you get old. Old.
Old. Mm. Mm.
You are in a drastically different location with
I
drastically
am.
darker eyes than you normally have.
Yeah. It's. I'm really flying. I was going to try and have some kind of flying pun here, and I messed it up. Oh well.
You got to
I'm
leave
just.
the aviator related jokes to David.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tried. But I mean, I'm at. Yes, I am shooting currently in David's basement at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was helping him paint. If for those who are on the visual game here, I am covered in paint, helping David paint up his house a little bit. So
How dare you be all covered in paint for a mostly audio podcast?
yeah, I
You
know.
fiend.
I am sorry. I am terribly sorry. But you know
That's fine.
what? There's one thing that goes really well with paint, and I think that's beer.
You know, not that touches on some of the topics that you brought up last week where you're like, it has the texture of latex paint, and I'm like, not the thing I associate with beer. But all right.
Somebody might.
Are we jumping right into it?
I think we need to get ourselves a beer here at least. I at least I need a beer. Pretty
That's fair.
badly here.
Let's give it a go.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a 12-sided die tonight.
I've got an 8-sided die provided by David.
Oh, I see.
Mhm.
Compliments of David.
Yes.
3, 2, 1. So
1,
I got an 11,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got an 8.
which for me works out to Collective Arts Stranger Than
Ooh.
Coffee and Maple Syrup Porter at 5.5%.
Yes.
And it's certainly strange.
Yes.
1 part craft beer, 1 part canvas. Collective Arts is a fusion of creativity featuring the talents of emerging artists through our global call for art.
Mhm.
The art on this can is by Shinjini Sir from Mississauga, Ontario.
Yep. And
And
that's
Collective Arts is out of Hamilton, Ontario.
yeah, and what I really like about Collective Arts is they actually do give the artists a small amount of pay, and they ask for art that is already completed and already done. They don't ask for new art, they don't ask for anything like that. They're just basically like, "Hey, submit art that you think might fit for us, and we will give you a small stipend, and we will also highlight you guys on our website. You get a highlight on the can, and literally they have QR codes right on the cans. I also have a can of that follows right directly to the artist and everything like that. It's really cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
What do you have?
I have the Little Red Owl. This is from oh goodness, I am going to mess this up. Nakash.
Can you type it into chat for me, please?
Yeah, I'm going to type this into chat. I'm going to type it into David's chat here. It is Hitachino. Hitachino or Hitachino. It is from Japan.
Yes.
And this is the Japanese classic ale, is what they call it. It is matured in cedar casks, comes in around 7%. And I absolutely love these beers from this company. They make some fantastic stuff and I keep going onto their Instagram and getting sad because I can't have half of their beers because
Why?
they don't come over to Canada.
So this is from Kiuchi Brewery, right?
Yes.
So Hachino Nest.
Hitachino Nest.
I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I really like their stuff. And I follow them on Instagram and I keep complaining to them every once in a while, like, so is this coming to Canada? And they go, no.
Well, here's the thing. So we're doing Beer Fest here in,
Mhm.
T minus several weeks.
Yes.
And that's always been a sticking point for me with Calgary Beer Fest is you get to try some really amazing things. And half the time they're like, but you can't buy it here.
No.
Because and I understand that they're pushing to try and get things um available in stores here,
Yes.
but it's still challenging
It
to
is
walk
a
away from that and be
challenging
like,
thing. I want that beer again. Give me that
indeed.
beer.
Shall we crack it?
Yeah, we shall.
All right. 3, 2,
2,
1.
1. Nope. I failed on my part.
I still
Haven't
heard it.
tried. Yeah, no, it's still trying to figure out how I'm going to open these things on the Tim.
So, remember when we were talking about that inner city beer a couple
Mhm.
of weeks back? The
Yeah,
one
yeah.
that was like, it's a ginger maple syrup biscuit in a can.
Yeah,
And I was like, this doesn't smell like any of the things written on the can. This smells like maple syrup in a can.
yeah.
Holy crap. And also, it smells like breakfast. And
Yeah.
for some reason, I get notes of like Frank's Red Hot. And that's probably just the nostalgia in my brain associating those smells with the maple syrup smell.
Yeah,
Because
okay, yeah, no, I see
I
what you
put
mean.
hot sauce on my eggs and maple
Yep.
syrup on my pancakes, and like you get the blend.
Hmm.
I'm broken. I'm not gonna apologize for.
So this one's a bit of an interesting one. This is the Japanese classic ale, so it doesn't have like a huge presence on the nose or anything like that. But I am getting a bit of that like almost cedary kind of note to it. Ooh, that is nice and dark as you are pouring that. Ooh. Hair in there.
Look, I have a cat. Thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Ooh.
So
Ooh.
this tastes like Bailey's every couple of years does like special variety, like seasonal things, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
eggnog
yeah.
Baileys and stuff.
Yes, yes.
And they did a maple syrup Baileys a couple of years ago. And
Hmm.
that is 100% what I'm reminded of here is that maple syrup coffee liqueur.
Yep. Ooh. This is a slow sipper.
This is gonna not last very long. And I kind of want to eat more.
Yeah.
Like I need to share this with everybody in my life. This tastes like goddamn Christmas.
That sounds about right.
It
Like
is
that.
it is weird, but
Yep.
everything in my mouth is what they said on the can. And like it's coffee, it's maple syrup, and it's
Mhm.
strange. And there's a dancing green monster with one eye.
Yes. It's almost like Christmas in a canon, art and everything because that's Santa, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Huh.
Uh-huh.
I like it though. That's
Mm.
amazing.
Mhm.
Pardon my slow pour.
Yeah. No, hey, that's okay. So remember when I was talking about hops kind of missing in the previous beer?
Mhm.
This is one of those kind of things as well that kind of happens every once in a while, and especially when it comes for import beers.
Is it dead?
It's not dead, but the hops are slightly missing. And it's
Oh.
not just kind of what happens with import styles, especially when you're importing an IPA,
Mhm.
because this is technically a part of that IPA. And the way they describe it, an IPA style brewed with a recipe inspired by the first ever ale brewed in Japan, using generous amounts of hops for well proportioned bitterness and aroma.
Mhm.
It has a little bit of that, but it's missing that initial just bite, that like initial first something. And
Okay.
it's just like it's almost there. And it's like, "Ugh, ugh." Makes me sad and angry at the
Well,
same time,
I
but
guess you're
also
just gonna have to have more of them then, until
yeah,
you get the one that's just perfect for you.
yeah, yeah.
Does it bother you when people grab a mug not by the handle?
No, not really, because I do that all
No?
the time with my coffee cup.
Why?
Why does that not bother me?
No, I mean, why do you do it with your coffee cup?
Why do I do it with my
Meandering
coffee
topics
cup?
tonight.
Yeah, apparently it's
Riveting.
meandering topics today. I don't know. I just because I get to warm my hand.
That's fair.
But no, but
That's the best answer. That is that is in fact the correct answer.
yes.
The only
Um,
correct answer.
I swear to God, we do have a beer topic tonight, and
Indeed.
we were kind of talking about the beer topic in general, just because we kind of had a couple of different ideas, and one of them you kind of did touch on there, which was you poured your beer a little bit slowly there,
Mhm. I
and
I did that specifically because I didn't want it to froth over my mug.
yes,
And from the time immemorial of being a wee lad, I remember pouring cans of sody pops into cups and being like, "Oh fuck no!" From my the tender age of wee.
of we from the tender age of tiny wee
Look,
lad.
the '80s were a wild time, man.
Yes, they were. But I wasn't there for them. But I was 89. I was 89.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, it's funny because when we're talking about pouring beers, we're talking about all of this. Like there are actual rules about pouring beer.
Fuck
It's
you,
at
I
the
do what I
glass,
want.
and yeah, 100%, you can do what you want. But there is a thing about saying as well that I did take a course, my Cicerone course, my first level of Cicerone, which is actually called the Certified Beer course or Certified Server course, um, which is literally how you pour beer.
Alright.
It's been a little while since I've taken it, but I'm doing the remembering of it and also doing the going back over the material again. It's very basic material, but it is useful because I am actually going to be doing my Cicerone level 2 very shortly.
Mhm.
My company is helping me out with it, and we're going to be going forward with it, and I'm super excited because I'm getting the study material very shortly. But anyway, pouring beer, talking about that. There is the whole thing about having a glass at a 45-degree angle. What temperature do you serve the beer at? If you're pouring from a tap, don't let the tap touch the beer or the foam. Um, and there's also about how fast to pour a beer, because if you pour it too fast, then obviously you get a crap ton of foam. If you pour it too slow, you get too little foam. Um,
Now, you say crap ton of foam. Is that different from a hecaton of foam?
Yes, it is definitely different than a hecaton of foam. If you are pouring a hecaton of foam, you need to get yourself adjusted, because that's going to be like this much beer and then like this much foam in a tall
Is it
Weiss beer glass.
is it called head for a reason? Is it just because it's on top, or is there an actual, like
That is I believe the actual reason.
okay.
I don't think there was a different reason from what I remember, but yeah, beer head name. What is beerhead called? Yes, there is an actual name for it. Welts, most of us probably refer to as the head of the beer, the
Mhm.
foam. The real term is the collar of the beer.
Okay. And why do we call
Um,
it the color?
my guess is it's to do with it's just on right on the top of the beer, and it has to do with I, I'm gonna look that up because I actually don't know.
A
That
topic
is
for another day when we get into more Cicerone things, perhaps?
Yeah, well, when we talk about Cicerone next, because I do want to talk about it, but I will leave with not too much of a beer discussion today. But we will talk a bit about the fact of pouring beers and the reason why we want a bit of head, maybe about an inch or two of head, depending on the type of beer.
Phrasing.
If we're talking about beer.
Look, we don't want to be corrupting David's browser history here.
Yeah.
Careful what you're searching
Yes,
for.
that would corrupt David's browser history.
Yes. Yes.
Calling you out, David. No.
But
Nothing to do
why?
with any of the things that we've said previously on this podcast.
There's that.
Or rolling for beer or
So-
Legends of Logomancy. Anyway.
So my experience with the whole like fast pour, slow pour thing,
Mhm.
aside from, again, coming from a layman's sort of
Mhm.
background, because I drink beer. I don't
Yes.
know beer. I drink beer.
Yeah.
Was kegs.
Yep.
And you get all foam all at once, and it's a terrible time, and you got to wait so long to get your beer.
So many. Okay, if
Or
we're talking
you pour too
kegs,
fast.
if we're talking kegs, because I'm going to do a quick thing on kegs here.
All right.
Kegs need to sit for about 12 to 24 hours in the same spot.
Yeah, that's never been the case in the history of kegs.
It never has been, but if we're talking about a bar, you can smooth them in a bar scene if they have been sat for a while. Like, for example, at my bar, or at the bar that I have at my store, we have kegs in the back and we wheel them out and we put them on and we start pouring right away. Excuse me, right away. But that's fine because they had been sitting for quite a while in the back, steady and ready to go.
But real people drink from kegs in basements and in the bush.
Yes.
And it
And
rode in the
that's
back of a pickup truck
Yep.
to get to my spot. And
Yep.
then we got it out there and we strapped it to a tree because it has those handy dandy handles.
Yep.
And we shoved a tap in it. And then
Yes,
you
you
pump
guys.
the shit out of it.
Yep.
And you get a whole bunch of foam.
And there's 3 reasons right there why you got a whole bunch of foam. 1, it was jostling around. You immediately attached it to the side of a tree, and then you attached the thing, and you just shoved air into it.
Yes.
That would cause a lot of foam.
All right, then. So, again, from a layman's perspective,
yeah,
pouring too fast and or tapping your keg in inopportune conditions
yes,
burns
yeah.
through the carbonation in the beer, and you can end up with some very flat beer if you burn through all the carbonation in it, much like sody pops.
Yes. So if you are moving a keg around, you want it to be still for at least an hour or 2.
Okay.
And you want it to be still so it can equalize the pressure inside the keg. And you want it to be cold.
Mhm.
Obviously, the longer it's cold, the better the pour you'll get.
You know, this has me thinking because we camp at a certain spot in BC,
Mhm.
and if I could, put the keg in the creek, bury it.
Yeah. And then
Just-
we leave it for a day and we just have bourbon the first day, then you're fine.
Yeah. This man's thinking with portals now.
Yeah,
like it.
there you go. But if we're talking about canned beer and, bottled beer and stuff like that, we want to and we're talking about pouring speed and stuff like that. We want to pour it at a rate where we'll end up having about an inch or 2 of head, or inch and a half to 2 inches. The reasoning is because we want to remove some of the carbonation, but not all of it.
Yeah.
Because you obviously want that carbonation because that's what kind of makes beer. You don't want flat beer.
Mhm.
But if there's too much carbonation, what do you get? What do you think happens when too much carbonation enters your body?
Bloated.
Bloated. There you go.
Yep.
Biggest thing. If you ever see the example, there's an example, like it's a pretty famous example now. Basically, you take a beer, you slow pour one of them, you fast pour one of them, and then you do the correct pour where you get the right amount of head. What will happen is you take a napkin, you throw it into the first one that you slowed pour, and it will just go right over.
Yep.
You throw it into the one that was poured too fast, barely anything happens because all the carbonation is gone. You put it in the last one, it barely reacts, but it still has some reaction.
And or option D, none of the above, where I take a jackknife and I shove it into the side of the can, crack it, and suck it back as fast as I possibly can.
And we call that a shotgun. And that is a
Shotgunning.
whole different type of pouring of beer, because that is, and you end up burping a lot for some reason. Oh, I wonder why. Because there's carbonation in you.
What about a Das Boot roll?
Das
Where
Boot
you
roll. Oh,
where you rotate the giant glass boot full of beer that you're drinking at just a certain angle, and it shoves the beer down your throat faster than you could possibly drink it yourself. I saw it in a movie once. I have duplicated the feat several times. I think there are people in chat that have seen me do it.
oh. Yeah, no.
Anybody want to co-host a podcast
Yeah, for me this time.
for you this time? So
Oh my goodness.
I suppose that in the grand scheme of things,
Mhm.
aside from like wasting or making your beer worse,
Yeah.
is there a benefit to the patience of pouring it right? Because again, as a layman,
Yep.
the example that I come to is that in Ireland, there's the
Oh.
7-minute Guinness pour or whatever it is, 7 or 11 minutes. I can't
7
remember
or
what it is.
11-minute Guinness pour. And
And
there
here, it's
is
significantly less than that, and I don't think it's anything to do with elevation.
no, it's not anything to do with elevation. The biggest kind of thing about being patient and pouring beers correctly is that you're getting the experience that is meant for that beer. When you take the time and you're pouring, say, just a basic lager from a can or something like that, what you end up getting is a more enjoyable thing, because, or a more enjoyable drink, because your taste buds aren't fighting the carbonation, and you're getting the proper malts, you're getting the proper hops, you're getting all that kind of stuff hitting you in the right spots. And also, you can have more beer because
I'm
you're
always a
less bloated. And so you're like, hey, I feel like I can have another beer, when normally if you're popping Buds or Molsons or whatever and you're chugging those down, you're going to get bloated a lot faster.
You know, my brother,
Mm.
he switched to Bud Light years ago because he's like, I can drink twice as many of these and I don't get bloated. And that makes sense. But then you're drinking twice as many Bud Lights, and I don't understand.
Yeah, you're drinking twice as many beers that, yeah.
I ever tell
We're
you this-
gonna talk about domestic beers versus craft beers. That
Yeah.
will be another topic for another day.
That's fair.
But that is a whole tangent and a whole thing that I could take 45 minutes of talking about.
Because I'm reminded of it because of the green light shining off my head right now.
Yes.
I ever tell you the story about the Bud Light Lime release party I went to?
No, but go on.
I was like 19, maybe 20, and I got tickets to the release party when they pulled out those Bud Light Lime, Bud Light Apple, Bud Light, like all those
The flavored Bud Lights,
the
yes.
crap, yeah. And I went, and it was a banging party, and everybody was dancing and having a good time, and it
Mhm.
was all the Bud Light Lime you could drink. And I cracked it, and I'm not big on lime, but I tasted. I'm like, oh, I think I got a bad one. And I finished it, and I got a second, and I cracked it, and it was exactly the same. And I'm like, I'm going home.
Yeah, because it's Bud Light Lime.
I will say this: those Bud Light apples makes for an excellent mix for apple pie moonshine.
And you know what? That's fair.
It's got just the right amount of carbonation and bubbly to it to be a very good delivery method for fucking moonshine.
You know what? Beer cocktails. Another beer topic, because
Cool.
there are some really good ones.
Add it to the list because you
Yep.
won't remember.
Nope.
And neither will
I mean, I know I will, because I'm going to edit this episode and I'm going to feel the pain again.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
like it. But speaking of patience,
Yes.
and this is going to seem like an attack on some people that are in chat tonight.
Ooh. Oh no. Oh no. Who are we attacking? Who
Well,
specifically? Can I roll attack roll?
well, you can add your proficiency. We question BC boys and their moonshine cocktails. There's nothing wrong with moonshine cocktails. Moonshine is great.
I haven't had the moonshine cocktail, and I need to try it now because this sounds ridiculous.
So that in general, and this is a response to chat. If you take Minhas apple ale, no, don't make that face.
No,
It's
sorry.
delicious.
It was
It
the
is.
first part you said.
Look, being a snooty booches aside, Minhas apple ale is friggin' delicious, especially when you're
Mm.
drinking it 4 liters at a time. So what you do is you drink a liter of the growler down, and then you
Hmm.
fill it up with Old Smoky's apple pie moonshine.
Yep.
And then you feed it to a bunch of girls from Switzerland. And then you go back to grab more beer and you realize that they drank all 4 4-liter jugs that you brought camping that weekend, and it's the first day.
Yep.
I've invented something that's delicious here, and I have proof. It sounds like a choice. But that said, this is going to sound a little bit like an attack. And the thing I want to talk about is the benefits of patience when it comes to session 0 and character creation.
Ooh, session
Because-
0.
Yes. So character building sessions are important. There is something to be said for getting caught up in the hype and being in the moment
Mhm.
and like rolling with it. You're riding a high, you're making something. This sounds really good. Let's do this. Let's go.
Yep.
And I love the feeling, and some of the best games that we've done are when we come into a session 0 and it's like, here's my pitch. This is the kind of game that I'm interested in running. And now, with no prior knowledge of the setting, who's playing what? I don't care what's going on your character sheet, right? I don't care that you had a rogue build that you wanted to try. It's
Yeah.
who's playing what? How do you fit into this? Talk to each other. How do you know each other? Where's this coming from?
Yep.
Versus, I need to know so I can build my character entirely, and then I show up to session 0 and my character is completely devoid of the setting and everything else the rest of the party is doing. Which is, we talk about tone a lot because we run a
Yes.
lot of different games.
Mhm.
And I've used this example multiple times of if I'm doing some like Frank Miller super gritty Sin City style story and somebody's playing Princess Sally Moon, punishing people in the name of the moon.
Okay, to be frank,
Miller?
you could fit that character in that universe in some messed up way. I'm just saying
Maybe.
you
The-
100% could. Anyway.
The trouble is that if you get attached to a character concept ahead of time,
Mhm.
you can find yourselves getting shot in the foot, right? Because somebody's not going to have a good
Yes.
time because you're either, well, now I can't play what I want to play.
Yeah.
Because we're doing something different and it's like, all this work is gone. But there's also something in the squeeze, like the juice has to be worth the squeeze, so to sing, where you're in there and it's like the concept never came to you until she started talking. It's like, that sounds
Mhm.
really cool. I like the idea that, can I be your landlord? Like, the city's burning to the ground and this is everything about you, and it's like, how do I know you? Like, what's the thing? And some of the best games and the best interactions I've had is, how do I know you? Right? Where do I fit?
Yeah.
And we talked about this. So I ran a Waterdeep Dragon Heist game. a
Right.
while back, like way, way, way back. And we talked about this earlier in a earlier episode about the whole "I know a guy" thing, which
Yes.
leads into the whole like, where do you fit into the city? You obviously know people around. And we touched on stream on the whole like, I always take care to let you guys take the time, and we're patient with the story to talk to each other, have
Yeah.
meandering conversations, right? Because you don't adventure for a year and camp beside each other every night without talking to each other. It's weird to think that you would,
Wait,
right?
that's how communication works?
Funny how that works.
Oh my god.
But that said, um, we ran Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and when
Yes.
we were doing the planning for it, it's like, who is everybody? Where do you live? Tell me about this place. Like, you
Right.
live in Waterdeep. Where do you live? Who do you rent from? Do you own a place? Like, what's your background? How does that work into this? Do you know each other in some weird way? If not, how are you going to find each other? Like, let's talk about this.
Right.
And
Because the sorry, go ahead.
no, go for it.
Oh, I was about to say, like, it's that whole um dichotomy of like you can't just be people that just show up randomly at a place and it's like, oh, we're all allies.
Yeah.
And we all know exactly how each other works.
Well, and you kind of can if that's the tone that you're going for. Otherwise, it's kind of awkward and weird. Like, I
Mhm.
love the idea of I we all know each other because we're an elite squad of like anthropomorphic rhino soldiers, and we're called in for this very specific kind of adventure,
Awesome. I
right?
want the 90s cartoon of this.
Right? And or like, we are all biker mice from Mars. Like, come on. We could all be biker mice from Mars. What's wrong with that? We'll all be a slightly different flavored biker mice. Biker mouse?
Biker
They were
mouse?
never
Biker mice?
called biker mouse.
Biker mice. Biker
Bi-
mice. Bike mice?
Bike mices?
Bike mice.
Canada mooses? Mooses and gooses?
Mooses and gooses. Gooses on bikes?
But that's just it is I would argue
Mm,
that every game is better off
yes.
leaving every aspect of your character creation to session 0
Hmm.
of your character creation. That's not your build creation, because there's a difference between your character and your build.
Yes.
Your build being, I've found a mechanical thing that I want to do and I want to try, and like Melissa was running a campaign. I was playing a bard. I switched like 3 levels in to a completely different character because they released the artificer, and I wanted to
Yeah.
try it. So I built a character knowing it was going to be an artificer,
Yep.
and I made a build, and then I wrote a character around the build, knowing the story as it was and the people that were there. So when I built that character, I thought about the different interactions I was going to have with these people.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually so I recently changed a character in a game that I'm currently playing in.
Mhm.
And it was very important for us to find a character that made sense for the world. So me and the DM had a second session 0 technically, like a session 1.0 basically, if you will.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to make sure that the character felt correct in the world.
Mhm.
And I ended up making a Phantom Rogue. What was it? Sorry, Drunken Master Phantom Rogue
Okay.
character because I. It's a weird character,
Yeah.
but it was just I wanted to do something different and fun, and I love this character.
I I don't the optimizer in me is looking at you with kind of screwball eyes,
Oh yeah,
but it doesn't matter.
no, it is not an optimized character at all.
Yeah.
Is this a character that will still hit pretty hard and also be a dodgy character that nobody will be able to hit? Yes.
Probably. Yeah. That's fair. But this kind of brings it back in where it's like, if you were like, I'm gonna be the space wizard.
Yeah.
Albrun is a space wizard. Like,
Albrun is a space wizard.
let's be fair. Um, I started with my character build was like, I'm specifically combining this race and my favorite kind of wizard.
Yeah.
And the flavor was, how am I going to create somebody that's going to have both good and bad interactions with every single one of the party?
Yeah.
Because
No,
I had wanted something where those interactions need to take place, or what are we doing here?
yeah, and that's very fair. But going back to the idea of patience.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about patience for episode 0,
Yep.
what do you exactly mean by patience for it?
So rather than putting all of the effort ahead of time into, this is what I'm going to do, and
Yeah.
this is going to be my halfling warlock
Yes.
that's themed as a goth with crows, and I've written my backstory.
Right.
We did this like three days ago with somebody,
Ah.
and then trying to shoehorn a concept that you've become intrinsically attached to into a session 0.
Right.
This is nobody that we're playing with on stream. It's just talking to a friend.
Ah.
I would argue that it's better to like think of those things, right? It's like, oh, that seems like a cool concept, but it's just kind of like potential paints in your palette kind of
Mhm.
deal. That you are better served and you would enjoy the game better with characters that are fleshed out based on the people that you're collaboratively telling stories with versus in a
Right.
vacuum, right?
Right.
So one of the reasons I liked running the You're a Level 0 adventure in our stream game for
Yeah.
Naylor is I didn't know what you guys were going to play for level 1
Right.
necessarily. Right? Like we talked about it, you had some inklings on stuff, but you always had the choices.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I understand what you mean then now by the patience for 0,
Mhm.
because it is holding off the excitement of making something,
Yeah.
because you want to be able to collaborate, create, and have dynamic characters for the entire party.
Yeah. And rather than trying to fit the square block in the round hole,
I mean, we've all seen the video. We all know we can do that.
you can. That's right. It goes in the square
Air
hole.
hole.
Um, it's
No.
better to
No.
build your pieces there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I find it makes for the most enjoyable characters. Like Eugene O'Hare,
Yeah.
you thought of a like when we were doing our session 0 build for that, you had
Yeah.
talked ahead of time about like doing a Bucky O'Hare clone because it kind of fit the setting,
Yeah.
right? And that's fun. You picked a race,
Yeah.
and your race and your class are, I'm going to argue, entirely devoid from your character.
Yes.
Your character is not your race and class. Your character is the thoughts and feelings expressed through play, the
Mhm.
decisions that you make, the rationale behind those decisions. Your character might be influenced by your race because maybe they have prejudices. Maybe
Yeah.
they have a different outset of the world because they're from 40,000 leagues under the sea and you're a Triton. But something,
Yeah.
right? Racist fucks. Something, right?
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
goblin, therefore everything is shiny.
Yes, exactly.
And
Um
and likewise, to chat's point, uh, why don't you make your whole identity why doesn't your whole identity come from your job,
hmm.
right? It's like, if you are a doctor, is everything about you doctor? I mean, I know people like that, but
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, I mean, yeah, I part of my identity is definitely craft beer because that is part of who I am as a person, but At the same time,
there's a difference between it being an interest
yes,
and something that you invest in. This is in the terms of D&D,
yeah,
you are proficient in brewing tools.
exactly.
It is not a character, like it's an aspect of your character. It might influence how you interact with the world around you, but it is
Yep.
not a character.
No. And there's
Being a ginger
amazingly
is not a character.
I was about to say there's the other parts that round me out as a human being, as a character. And what a character I am. Anyway.
You're the cleric.
Oh
That's
no.
just it. Like we it is refreshing to sit in on some of the sessions with children and with very, very experienced players,
Oh yeah.
because it's the dichotomy of it is just great, right?
Yep.
Like
Oh
most of session 0 can come in and I don't know what your race or your class is really going to be unless it's integral to shaping who you were as a person,
yep.
right? That, like, truly the best kind of character is we leave session 0 and I don't know your combos, right?
Yeah.
I might know some of your proficiencies based on the things that we talked about, because you're like, I have an intention of, like, being from a brewing community, or like
Yeah.
I
No,
I like the idea of being an innkeeper's son, and I went to work at my uncle's in another town, and uh y- I like the idea of being a hospitality halfling,
yeah.
because I'm that fits. They're all innkeepers and stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah.
That's maybe going a little bit too far into it. But the class, um, some people define their character with their class, right?
Yes.
I am a warlock, therefore I have to be XYZ.
Brooding and evil, and I
Yeah,
kick puppies, and
and or dance through town all hibbity jibbity leg.
there's
Um,
tentacles everywhere.
I I could also argue that magic exists reasonably well enough in the world, and martial prowess exists reasonably well enough in the world, that you can be a character class without ever uttering what the class is, and it's reasonably acceptable to the people that live in that world, where it's like, Dern has magic. Dern
Yes, he does.
channels Dern channels the divine through his belief and his tenets, and his squats through his glutes, right?
Yes.
And nobody thinks like, well, he's obviously a paladin. He's just a dude that can do some stuff,
Yeah. Hey,
right?
hey, you know what? There are some hexblade warlocks that do the exact same thing in
Yep.
different ways.
But sometimes folks get caught up on the, like, well, I can't multi-class druid because how do I explain how I learned to go be a druid? And it's like, you don't have to. You're a dude. Your magic grew in different ways.
Maybe it was the magic mushroom you ate the other day.
Maybe
You
it was the
don't
magic
know.
mushroom you ate. Who knows?
But it's and just speaking about character creation and the idea of creating characters, I'm going to ask you a question here.
Sorry,
When we
character
had,
creation and the idea of creating characters.
yeah, I've had a long day.
That's fair.
And I realized how stupid that sounded.
What's life
Anyway,
without the sass?
I get so much of it. Please send help. Um, Talk to me about Enos. And when we had our session 0
You see,
for
there's genitalia, and then there. So Enos Strait, is obviously named after the deputy from the Dukes of Hazzard,
yes,
which was, when I was thinking small town Red Deer in the 80s, the first thing that I thought of was the Dukes of Hazzard, because that's what we watched growing up. Like, that was
yep,
family time.
100%.
Um, and so for our session 0 for Tales from the Loop, we sat down, and the Tales from the Loop system, obviously, you stick with an archetype
Yeah,
in direct contrast to the kinds of things that I'm talking about here, where you can kind of step out of those archetypes as a way of building a character. it
Very true.
it very narrowly guides you into you are the jock, therefore you are good at A, B, and C,
That's very fair, but when
right?
we're doing it, when we're in a system like that,
Yeah, then those archetypes serve the system well
yeah,
because we're trying to tell a very specific kind of story, which is not bad.
yeah,
Um,
but I
s
would say that you took that archetype that you were, which was the hick,
mhm.
and you kind of spun it around a lot more than I thought you were going to.
In what way?
You made a very, I'm going to say, intelligent character in the way how he holds himself, in the way how he is. He may not be quote unquote smart, but he's smart.
So I built Enos using again the Tales from the Loop RPG system.
Yeah.
Hick archetype, which means he's very, very good at force and moving his body and tinkering with stuff. Because when you think of a hick, you think of like farm boys. You think of like fixing a tractor and fixing things. Not necessarily computer smarts, but like mechanical smarts, right?
Yeah.
And because of the way that I wrote him, where he's kind of in a place of self sufficiency, he's had no choice but to figure things out. Doesn't put a
Hmm.
lot of stock in things like going to school, but he puts a lot of stock in like people
Yeah.
because people are valuable, people help, people are his lifeline, right? The other
Yeah.
characters, like he wasn't the character that Enos turned out to be was not who I had originally had in mind.
No.
When I was thinking, like, I did Enos's character sheet before we did our session 0
Yes.
because I was trying to familiarize myself with the system and I wasn't really like it was a new system. I was trying to figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I wasn't attached at the hip to anything on the sheet. Like if somebody else had come in and be like, I really wanted to try like this thing, and it's like, that sounds a lot more like a hick, so I will change something. That's fine.
Yeah.
Um, because there's quite a bit of overlap in Tales from the Loop if you don't pick different archetypes, much more
I
than say
th-
something open like D&D.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I made somebody that looks at the world through his flaws and tries to apply the things that he knows to everything in life,
Hmm.
right? It's like he specifically took the things I'm good at are the things that I'm always going to do.
Yeah.
And if you were going to make a an analogy to other TTRPG systems, Enos is basically a barbarian
Hmm.
because he's big and strong. He's a big old farm boy, and he knows how to do one thing, and that thing in his case is WD-40 and duct tape. But the barbarian knows I rage and I hit it with things.
And I mean, really, what is the flow chart of if it moves, use duct tape
If it moves and it's not supposed to,
to
use duct
use
tape.
duct tape?
If it's supposed to move and it doesn't, use WD-40.
And I mean, literally, the barbarian one is, does it move and it's not supposed to? Hit it. Is it, does it move or
Is it
does
not
it
moving
not
and it's
move?
supposed to? Hit it.
It.
The we talk about this every now and again. So my wife does not let
Yes.
my wife
My
do-
wife.
does not tabletop game. She likes
No.
board games,
Yes.
but is not one for the TTRPGs. And every so often, every couple of years on my birthday, I convince her to do something a little special in that she'll play Dungeons and Dragons with me. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and be like, she's like, this is not the role play that I thought you had in mind.
Ah.
But it, of course, always is the role play that I had in mind.
Yes.
And she, because it's a lot of reading and stuff, and for something that somebody's not necessarily invested in. And I
Yeah.
did a thing a couple of years ago where I made her a decision dice, where anytime that you're proposed a question or to make a choice, roll the dice, do what the dice says. That's how barbarians basically work.
Yeah.
At the most archetypal, simple level, just go do the thing.
All right. Before we continue,
Yep.
I have finished my beer.
I have.
I would like one more.
I have now also finished my beer. That was delicious. I'm going to
It's
have to remember that one.
Yeah, it's a really good beer. Oops.
All right. Rolling again?
Rolling again.
All right.
3.
That's going to get really saucy if I throw it in the cup again. 3, 2, 1.
1.
Another 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Tonight, we have Zero Issues, The Rock, Mexican lager. And I don't mean ROCK, I mean ROC, giant fuck off bird. Mexican lager, 5.3% alcohol per volume. Art on the can by Ian Nicholas, issue 68. I'm a fan of a Mexican lager. Do you have the motor oil? Oh, no, you've got that Anchorage one, don't you?
Galaxy. This is the one I've been wanting to try. Ha!
That's Anchorage Brew Co.
Yes, it is.
Galaxy.
Yes.
And Zero Issue Rock. I like it.
So I'm just going to showcase this art on this a little bit more. This is freaking phenomenal.
I like it. It's a little dark on camera, but that'll buff out in the podcast when nobody can see it anyway.
Yeah. This art is done by Massive Face.
I like it.
Yeah. All right.
3,
2, 1.
Ah. It's not a roll for beer episode if I didn't splash beer all over my fucking computer tower. And my taxes, no less.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. Gonna give this a rinse quick before I pour it. And then, let's see. It looks like water, Riley. It looks like water.
It's almost like it's a Mexican lager.
It looks like water. And I poured it too fast, and now there's too much head.
I'm not going to say rude things here. I was going to, but then I decided, wait a minute, this is going on a podcast.
This tastes like I'm on a bus headed from the airport.
Yeah. It goes back way too easily.
Yeah, I understand why my brother. All right, no, I'm not going to say that. I don't ever want Mark to think that I think his beer has anything to fucking do with Bud Light.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I could drink 100 of these.
Oh, 100. The first day I had that, I had a pint at Zero Issue, and I was like, oh, wow, that's really good. I had another pint. I took home a 4-pack. I drank the 4-pack because I didn't realize how quickly I was drinking it. And I was just like, oh, no.
I'm guilty of that with things like Twisted Teas.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why is everything spicy all the time? And I realized that I've been through 48 of them in a very quick amount of time.
So, may I? I'm sorry, I'm going to geek out. This is a beer geek one.
Sure.
This is Galaxy by Anchorage Brew Company. I really like Anchorage. They make some freaking phenomenal products. This is a hoppy wit beer with Brettanomyces.
That's that hops that you really liked.
The yeast strain.
Yeast.
Yes.
Yep. Really liked.
It is because yeast strains. This is like the weird, funky kind of really neat kind of. This is a beer geek one. This is 100% a beer geek kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Brewed with Galaxy hops, coriander, peppercorns, kumquats, fermented with wit yeast and Brettanomyces, in Missouri oak, dry hopped with Galaxy hops and naturally carbonated.
So, why kumquats?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Because it's like you're spacing it out across the world because isn't uh, aren't kumquats like native to Australia?
They
And
are.
then you've got a brewery in Anchorage, Alaska,
Ye-
brewing with uh fruit from trees in Australia.
yes, because the Galaxy hop, hence this name beer called Galaxy, is made in Australia.
Okay.
They are grown in Australia. That is the only place that Galaxy hops grow naturally.
That seems like it's a really expensive way to source your materials.
I
Let's go from the farthest
people
point on the planet that we can from our brewery and
yeah,
order things
see
from there.
that's the thing about breweries and hops and things like that. And the reason why craft beers sometimes cost a little bit more is because they get the ridiculous hops.
Okay.
Because they look for the specific type of things. And also hops, because they're so light, and they don't take up that much room for what you need, they're not insanely expensive.
Mhm. That's fair. I like
Oh,
this.
this
This is good.
this is complex and um all over the place.
Now, did you pour it fast or slow?
I poured this one at a kind of a medium speed because I wasn't going to get much head on it anyway,
You know,
just because of the type of beer.
Jack Black has been getting a whole bunch of good press lately and all of the things that he's been in. But
Mhm.
if you are a true fan, you understand what at a medium pace really means.
That's a good song. I like that song.
It is.
It's a
Really
great
is.
song.
As much as he sings about peaches at a medium pace. Yeah. I like it, sir.
Yes.
I, you know, next time, I
Mhm.
think I'd like to get a little bit more into um the specific notes on Cicerone.
Mhm. And I
Like,
can go through my training and stuff like that and what it means and what I'm hoping to get to.
mhm,
Because there is I would love to get to Cicerone level 3 or 4.
mhm.
F-
Is that when you ascend to your final form and you like get spiky gold hair, or
this
do you get like more ginger? How does that work?
level 4 is when you
Oh, you
wake
get
up
a
the
tail,
next
right?
no, you wake up the next day and you just have a beard.
Oh,
And
not
and
a
it's
coiffed waxed mustache
oh
that
no, that's
curls.
all that's level 4 is the coiffed mustache as part of the beard.
Hmm,
And it looks gorgeous no matter what angle you look at it
I
from.
see.
And
Do
it's
you then also wear like rich leather vests and suspenders
yes, and
at
your
all times?
wardrobe is
Pocket
full of it.
watches, pocket
Yes,
watches too.
and your wardrobe has only suspenders. There are no
Hmm.
belts.
Well, I
Um,
mean, except for fine Corinthian leather belts,
yes,
but you don't
and
wear them because
no, because you have suspenders.
look, I'm an advocate for suspenders. You don't have to sell me on it, but I understand.
Yeah, and there's a few other things that happen, but I'll go through each level of the Cicerone because it is actually an interesting kind of a topic and a training thing because there are levels to it. There are specific trainings. There are tastings. There are oh god.
No,
So
a super Cicerone level 4 does
hmm,
not have either a purple or pink beard chat. That is not a thing that super Cicerones level 4s have. They
no,
have um awesome karate gi pants and
yep,
like perfectly waxed mustaches and like ape tails and can like destroy the moon with a single like hoppy belch,
yep,
tasteful hoppy belch.
yes. But I will say, and James, you're going to be sitting down with me for this. You are going to help me out with my off training
Yes.
because we're going to make a video of this because I have to
We're gonna
get
do
some.
it in a montage.
Yes, but there is a thing that I have to do called off tastes, which I
Mhm.
talked about before.
Yep.
But I am going to be literally getting a kit that fouls beers.
Oh. Oh.
And James, you're going to be going through this with me.
So I envision, and David can probably weigh in on this a little bit. Um I feel like this needs promotional material of like Riley hitting a punching bag and then stopping and sipping a beer and then going back to hitting a punching bag, or like doing a sit up and drinking a beer.
Riley Cicerone 2023.
Dun, 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 dun. It's just Guile's theme over and over and over and over again. Dun, 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 dun. And
Doing
with
a
that,
sit up.
I think we'll call it for the night.
Yeah, I think so.
That seems reasonable. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. If you like what we do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the video itself instead of in chat.
Links are in the doobly-doo.
It helps on the algorithm and all that jazz. And if you have any comments for
Leave them in
topics
the
you'd like us to cover in the comments of the video.
comments below, please. It helps us out. And also, this beer is freaking amazing. I'm blown out of this world.
I'm gonna drink this incredibly quickly because it's going down very fast.
I'm going to try and sip this, but this is an amazing beer. But anyway, have a wonderful night, and we'll see you guys next time.
This tastes like the cow got into an onion patch. Thanks, chat. I like that. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
And we're out.